Okay, good afternoon, everyone. We're right at 14:30, so it's time to get started. Welcome to DemoCamp. Deb was just asking if this was your first time. I didn't get to see a show of hands, but if it is your first time, all right, good. So I do want to first, before we talk about the format, say thank you to this is DemoCamp, of course, as you see, Demo01 session. I need to cover a little bit of housekeeping. I'm your moderator, Jason Best, along with Deb Paul and Erica Krimmel. They're waving in the audience. This year's meeting was made possible in part by the generosity of our sponsors, especially the Diamond sponsors. So make sure to visit them in the exhibit hall. This will be recorded for later viewing by registrants. And we also want to thank the help of the technical staff, Oki Congress, so thank you. For your presentation, please speak slowly and clearly for the benefit of the audience. And thank you for all the presenters joining in this session. We will have 13 minutes of presentation, and your time will be alerted by Deb with the cards, and we'll try to leave 2 minutes for Q&A. We have 2 sessions today, one before the tea break and one after the break. If you're attending virtually online, please ask the questions of the speakers using the chat in Zoom. We will be monitoring those and try to relay those questions to the presenter. I believe that's everything for now in terms of housekeeping, but I do want to talk briefly about the DemoCamp format. It is intentionally made to be a live presentation format, so it forces people to use software that's not vaporware, technology that's real and live. And it also lets people kind of see the edge of your seat presentation where things may go wrong. So please be generous with your patience as things may have a little bit of difficulty, but we do expect a smooth session. But with that, I'll begin with our first demonstration by Dmitry Dmitriev. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. I'm representing a species file group from the University of Illinois, United States. We have a group of about 10 people, mostly in Illinois. David Paul is part of our group, and we have 2 people from Argentina. With that, you can find some additional information about TaxonWorks, about website. I would say I don't have enough time to demonstrate everything about TaxonWorks. I will just touch certain interfaces. I would like to say people who are interested to know about TaxonWorks who don't know anything, we have our weekly meetings each Wednesday. Please join. And we have annual event TaxonWorks Together in May. So it's a couple of days, so with demonstration, etc., etc. And all the information could be found on the Species File Group webpage. So TaxonWorks is open platform, so we are on GitHub with all code open. We are doing software products for biologists. We also encourage developers join into our development process where they can contribute code, we can overview and probably add this to production. So we have last call, I have 80 projects in production database, where I am from nomenclature, digitization, which means collection management, collection digitization, descriptions, so descriptive data, matrices, interactive keys, etc., literature, and geospatial georeferences, etc. So the general interfaces, I have multiple databases, most of the people part of just single project. One thing about TaxonWorks, from the very beginning, we invested a lot of efforts, not how to get data in the database, but also how to get data out of the database. So we have, you can get full project database dump. You can get individual tables, so each tables could be downloaded in various formats, and I will touch into this later as well. So typical interface, we have tasks, tasks with data interactions, where I'm you can filter those by different criteria, like related to nomenclature. So you see the number of cards reduced, and you see only 6, but there are many more available, and all of them separated into 3 categories. Those two: editing data, browse through the data, and filter data. I will just touch few interfaces. New source interface, we use in BibTeX format for data storage. So you see, to get a new source to the database, it's as easy as just grab a DOI from any system. We can create a new source, enter your DOI, find, and if I have internet connection, system will try to resolve it. Maybe I didn't update the interface. Well, it wasn't before. Well, okay. Let's try again. Okay, magic happens. So you have your title, you have your description, you have even nomenclatural date where the publication was published, etc., etc. You have your identifier, author, etc., etc. Browse nomenclature interface, you have all information about one particular species, synonyms, homonyms. We have extensive nomen ontology for the statuses, nomenclatural, taxonomical statuses, classification, bibliography. We're proud what we have soft validation. Basically, we not enforcing, we checking all the rules of zoological, botanical, bacterial nomenclature to make sure that the data properly formatted, not just in terms of one records, but how the records related. So system detects homonyms, system detects duplicates, etc., etc., and missing information, of course. And some of them could be auto-fix, so you will have a button, fix the record that will enhance data in the database. Some people use system as a collection database, so we have several interfaces to work with the collection. So it's comprehensive specimen digitization form, basically all in one. So you can get your collection, you can get your specimen information, you can get collecting event. And if I clone collection event from, yeah, something happens. But what happens when I edit collecting events, system tries to automatically recognize and pull coordinates, dates, and basically all structured data we can recognize. So we're trying to help people to do their work and basically as much as we can predict, we're trying to predict. It's predicted that Argentina, Buenos Aires, and county or whatever province, so you can select as geographic area, or you can override it and select something different. Grid digitization. So we had in insect collection in University of Illinois, we had a lot of slides. So there was a previous project when people just scanned a lot of slides, but those wasn't added to the database. So we designed this interface where you can drop the grid on the system, and this could be adjusted. So you can move the line to properly adjust it. After that, you can set up the catalog number starting and ending, and basically you create 20 collecting objects, specimen records. And if it's the same, you can add determination to all of them, but if it's different, you will have to open them one by one and update the records. Filter is an important part, so you can filter, again, anything in the database. There is multiple criteria. This is specimen filtering and a lot of data. It's a big table. And again, each filter interface has download button. You can download filter results, a CSV file in this case, and Darwin Core. And we have an option to send results from one filter to another. So you can select specimen and send the data to taxon name, for example, and get a list of the names. We have morphological matrices, like standard matrices for phylogenetic analysis. I will not show interface how to do it, but again, I will emphasize that you can download the matrix and Nexus, TNT, and some other formats. If you have your matrix, so you automatically have an interactive key with images, so you can basically select something, magic happens, taxa filter it, and you get your determination. Paper catalog, you can format nomenclatural data in the paper catalog format, almost ready for publication. So you have your repositories, type material, synonyms, bibliography, etc., etc. And we have partner product, Taxon pages, where it's public access. Taxon works everything behind login. Public pages is open for the public. So this is one species page, illustrations, distribution map, biological association, nomenclature, etc. I will stop with this, and I will encourage you to join our group one of the session. If you have a question, I hope I will have a little bit time. If I don't, just speak to me.
Okay, we have time for questions. So if anyone has questions here, you please use this microphone, or we may have some questions coming up on the Zoom, but not at this moment.
It's okay.
For the feature that you showed where it took the verbatim information and parsed it into the coordinates, et cetera, are you using regular expressions for that, or are you using
regex.
regular
It's regex, yes.
Okay, gotcha.
It's complicated, so for it's number of formats for dates, number of formats for coordinates, dates with ranges, without ranges, so we detect many of those, plus elevation. Okay, thank you.
We don't want to get too far ahead of schedule because there are people jumping between rooms trying to hit the right thing. So in the meantime, maybe we'll kill some time. Deb, do you have an idea of how to kill time?
Know any jokes?
Say what? I would definitely do it, you know. I'm curious, just in case I checked, and if you're brave enough, please. If you don't know what a regular expression is, could you please be kind and raise your hand? You don't know what regular expressions are? Stick your hand up. Stick your hand up. No, I'm serious. Please do. Okay. So when you get a chance, they're very powerful things, but if you learn to use them and then 6 months later you totally forget, I want to say that they become usable now. For those of us who've never heard of them before, they're very powerful. ChatGPT has made it possible to use them. So we can chat more about what they do. Those of you who's Open Refine, you can use them in there too. And you can use them inside TaxonWorks now in new ways.
I thought you were going to kill like an hour starting to talk about regular expressions.
You could.
We're still a little bit ahead of time, so I'll go ahead and also mention, in addition to regular expressions, Python and R, all sorts of things are becoming more accessible. So I think it's especially valuable to people who might learn enough, but then don't use it enough to remember it. It's a good refresher, and it kind of can be a programming co-pilot. So, and also regexer.com and Rego101 and some others, some great sites. Yeah. Okay, well, we're getting close to the right time, so I'll let Katie Pearson take it away.
Thanks, everyone. I love DemoCamp because it's like I get to show you actual things instead of slides. Okay, so I am here from Symbiota. Symbiota is an open source software for managing and mobilizing biodiversity data. It was focused on specimens in the beginning, but also can incorporate observations and material samples and such. So the basis of a Symbiota portal is that it is a web-based data commons where collections can either contribute a copy of their data or they can use this portal as their primary data management system, database, software, what have you. And the advantage to this is that you can have a lot of collections contributing in one place. They don't all have to manage their own database on their own systems that won't go, out of date and have to be updated all the time. So here is just one example. This is the consortium of lichen herbaria. It was launched with a digitization project many years ago. And it now has many collections from a lot of different regions of the world. Many of these are copies of data sets, but many of these are, like I said, primary databases. This is where they do their digitization, their editing, their data sharing, etc. So today, I'm not going to show you all the bells and whistles of Symbiota. I'm going to focus in on, I just realized I left my note. I'm going to focus in on some specific tools that have been developed more recently to support digital extended specimen data. And so what I mean by that is data that's not just the collection location and the collector information. It is the things that are kind of beyond that. It's traits, it's measurements that have been taken from that specimen. It's samples that have been taken from that specimen. It's citations that have been made of that specimen. So it's not just our collection object or the digital representation of it. It's all of the extensions, the additional data linked on that. And so I'm on Symbiota.org. There's tons of information about Symbiota here. And then there's even, if you go under resources, there's one called Extended Specimens. And it goes through pretty much all of the tools that we have to support extended specimen data, and probably more that can be added. What I'm going to focus on today is linking between occurrences and specimens, as well as any other linked resources that might have a link out there that you want associated with your specimen, such as a citation. So I'm going to do most of my demonstrations in this portal here, the Consortium of California Herbaria. It's near and dear to my heart because I work in California, and I help manage one of the collections here. So one of the newer features that we have is the ability to link records, like I mentioned, in this new linked resources tab. So what I'm looking at right now is the data entry page for a Symbiota collection. So all the digitization can be done in here with all of our links to the taxonomic thesaurus, to our geographic thesaurus, to our geolocating or georeferencing tools, etc. But I'm going to hone in on this linked resources tab here. And there are many types of things that you can link to your specimens. They can be linked to checklists, which are in the portals. They can be linked to duplicate specimens. We have automated processes that do this, that can find duplicates within a portal that share the same collector number, collector name, and collector date, which is a very common botanical process procedure to do, is collect lots of the same specimen and then send them to a lot of different collections. So you have those linkages there. But if you have other linkages that you want to add, like I said, for example, citations or other instances, you can do that. So an example, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to find Hoover's collection that was collected in the same place on the same day, but isn't the same taxon. So I'm going to do a search for one collector number below, because I'm going to link this as an ecological associate between this specimen and the one that was collected at the same place, same time. So this is the one collector number down. It's collected at the exact same locality, north end of Morro Bay, north end of Morro Bay. And so I'm going to copy my catalog number here, go back to my main specimen, and I'm going to link an occurrence. So there are several association types. There can be an association between an occurrence. So by occurrence, I mean an instance of a scientific name at a place at a time. And that can be linked within the portal, so between specimens in the portal, or between different portals, or between taxon works and Symbiota, between Arctos and Symbiota. That would be an external link, or it can be a non-occurrence resource link. So that's something that isn't itself a specimen or an observation. It's just a link to additional data potentially about that specimen. I'm going to do an internal, so this is within this portal. The relationship I'm going to say is ecologically occurs with, and I'm going to put this identifier and do a search and say, yep, that's the one I want. Create this association, and there we have it. So then if I do a public display, you can see this is what anyone would see if they're looking for your data and they click on the specimen link. They would see this ecologically occurs with, and in this case, this scientific name associated with that specimen. Okay, so we're not going to do that manually for every single specimen, so individual tool or batch tools are still going to be in the making, but that's the type of association that you can create. Another type of association would be a link to a citation. So here I'm going back in my linked resources. And here I found that when I looked in the determination history, there was a reference that said cited by Keel et al. Madronio. This is a publication in California. And so I went and looked for this 1985 resource, and I found its JSTOR link. And so I went ahead and added that to the JSTOR link. And I could do that again with other specimens. So for example, I have another one that I shall type in. Although I just remembered I need to copy this link. I found in the same publication that there were multiple specimens that were cited. So I'll put this here. Oops. Copy that, please. Okay. Okay. So I'm finding this specimen, and I go into linked resources, and I'm going to add this non-occurrence resource link, and my relationship is going to be referenced in, and then I'll say, here we are, and maybe I'll put the whole citation here. Maybe I'm just saying Madronio for now. And then again, when I go to the public display, it's referenced in this, and I would probably want to put something more verbose there. But that's the way that you can link a citation. And now, in our new and improved Symbiota 3.1, which just came out, I think probably like 2 days ago, you can batch upload these, so you don't have to continue to make these individual resources. I'm not going to go into that in too much detail, but I did think about something that we could do now that we can do these batch uploads. So if I go to my particular collection that I'm managing, and I go to my data editor control panel, you can link out. Symbiota portals have a way of publishing directly to GBIF. You don't have to install your own IPT. You just push it right through your portal. And then it makes this nice little widget, thanks to GBIF, to track your citations. So if I click on my citations, let's go back here. I could look for the citations of my specimens. For example, this one right here. Oh, I don't want to click on that. And I can look at all the specimens in that citation that belong to my collection. And I say, oh, okay, so there were 10 at the time of download, and all they were doing is searching on this scientific name. So then I could go back into my portal, and I could say, let's look for everything of that taxon, particularly in my collection. Oh, look, there's 10 specimens. So what I can infer is that all 10 of those specimens were cited by the data in this download. So what I could do is then download the spreadsheet of this just so that I can get a list of all the catalog numbers. And that's what I could use, and then put the DOI of that publication on all of my catalog numbers and use the batch uploader to then be like, look, here are all the individual specimens linked to this particular publication in GBIF. I'm sure there's a more sophisticated API way to do that we could build a tool for. But as me, just as a collections manager, curator, I could just put all these citations right there. And then if you're wondering, all the associated occurrences, they get linked into the Darwin Core Field associated occurrences. Or if it's just a linkage to a taxon, it gets put into the field called associated taxa. I'm sure, again, there's a more sophisticated way to do that, and I would be interested in talking to some people about where that should go more robustly, but that's where it goes right now. Oh, and one example of how people are using this like in the field right now is the NEON biorepository. This is the National Ecological Observatory Network, and they use this linked resources to link all their fecal specimens to their hair specimens, to their bone specimens, to their parasite specimens when they take like a mammal specimen. And so all of those are linked together. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Katie. Does anyone have any questions here or online?
Oh, one other example I forgot to mention is that the California Botanic Garden is linking their microscope slides to their wood specimens using this as well.
We do have a question online from Esteban. So Katie, you partly answered this, but they ask, for the linking of specimens, do you use the Tdwg resource relationship extension? And have you explored the new model of GBIF for interactions?
Yeah, great question. So the data table in the background is based off that resource relationship extension. So basically all of those fields are shared in the database, but we don't publish it as like an extension, a resource relationship extension file at this moment. But yeah, when we did our harmonization with GBIF's data model as part of their call a couple years ago, that was one of the big things. We were like, ooh, we're gonna be able to like release these data in a more interoperable fashion.
Any more questions? If not, oh yeah. James?
So any chance of getting Symbiota to mint DOIs for data sets and then automatically link the publications that cite that?
That would be nice, but DOIs cost a lot of money. That's true, you can just publish GBIF. It doesn't give you a DOI per specimen, though.
I'll put a plug in for ARCs. I kind of like those because they're free, but we don't have the infrastructure. I will add also that Katie mentioned Rancho Santa Ana linking specimens. At the Botanical Research Institute of Texas, we're linking field images and notebooks, field notebooks from the Sherwin-Carlquist collection, which is housed in the Portal to Texas History, which is at the University of North Texas. It's not a biological collection, it's just about media and publications. But so we're linking reciprocally between the Portal to Texas History and the CCH2 record from the Rancho Santa Ana specimen record. So we have those links going back and forth, so we're starting to build that extended specimen web. We're a little bit ahead of time, but with 1 minute switchover, I think we're good. So if there are no other questions? All right, thank you, Katie.
There we go. It wasn't connecting to the internet for some reason at first. I knew when Jason was talking about those demonstrations that are going to be seat their pants, I knew it was going to be me. So glad to hold up the line. So, and I'm going to break everything. My name is Teresa Miller. I'm with the Specified Collections Consortium. I'm here with Grant Fitzsimmons. He's at the back of the room hiding. We're here representing Specify for everybody, and we are a collection management software for natural history collections, and we're branching out into geology collections as well. So we've been around for about 30 years. Specify 7 is the version that we are working in now. You can see, you can enter your data, do your interactions. We have hierarchical trees you can use. But today I really wanted to focus on some of the data cleaning capabilities that we have, either currently have or that we're working on, which again is that seat of the pants. I'm going to show you the alpha version of some stuff that our programmer said, don't show them, it's not ready. And I said, I'm going to show them. So, and if you went to last year's Spnhc, I did the same thing to them last year and they didn't appreciate that either. So I am their favorite person. So I wanted to start with just some of the the record merging capabilities. And we have several ways that you can merge records in Specify 7, depending on what kind of record it is. So if you're going through and you find a record that says something like Maryland, from somebody who isn't familiar with US states and they made a mistake, mistakes are so common in any system. You add an S, you forget an S, you add a space, you add a period. So record merging really helps with that. In this case, Maryland is in our geography tree, which means it's part of our hierarchy. So in order to fix this, I'm going to go to our trees. So I'm going to go to our trees. I'm going to select the tree that applies. In this case, it's my geography tree, and I'm going to expand my tree out until I find it. I can see it's right here, and I can also see how many records are associated to the incorrect Maryland. Here I can see there are 6 associated to the correct Maryland for the counties in that state. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the incorrect Maryland, and then select merge, and then select what I want to merge it into. And then this button's going to become active, and then it's going to pop up and say, are you sure? Because this is a big potential change. Are you sure you want to make this change? And if you are sure, you just say merge node, because there's no rolling this one back. So you want to make sure you're doing the right thing. And now if I go back to my record, if I can remember which record it was 43187. Hit search for it. Give it just a second. Now if you look, it's corrected. So what it did was any records that were pointing to Maryland now get pointed to Maryland, and Maryland gets removed entirely. And that works for any of the trees. So if you accidentally misspell one of your taxa, it's going to clean that up as well. You just go through the same process. However, if you're going through and you discover you actually have quite a few records that got duplicated somehow. So if I'm looking through and I say, oh, these 3 are awfully similar. Somebody just misspelled something or added the wrong date. These are actually supposed to be the same record. I can go through and select the records that I want to merge, and then go up here and say merge records. And it's going to pull up this interface, which is going to show me the 3 records that I selected and what the record will look like once it's all merged. And I can also see any of the linked records to see what's linked to this. So I know going into this what I'm going to be changing or what's going to be affected. This is particularly helpful when you're doing agents, and it shows you the age ranges or the collection ranges for those people. So I know if somebody was collecting in 1950 and somebody's collecting in 1990s, that's probably not the same person. I don't want to merge those 2. And in that case, I can come up here and say, don't merge them, remove this person from the merge process. And I should mention, the merging works for agents, collecting events, localities, and paleo context right now. We are planning on expanding it out into other tables, but for right now, those are the ones we're working with. So like I said, over here, you can see what the record will look like. I can see the date, and I can say, oh, actually, I want to use this date instead. I want to use this record or this field number instead, and then just pull over all of the data. Or if none of them are right, I can say, well, actually, that's the number I was supposed to be using, so I can manually fix it. It will also show me any of the many-to-ones, so I have collection attachments. Those are going to be brought over my attributes are going to be brought over, and my collectors are going to be brought over. And in this case, I can go through and I can actually set the order. Otherwise, Specify will just assign a collector order. But if I'm very particular about this person needs to be first, this person is second, this is the order they get accreditation in, I can set that for it. I knew it was going to give me an error as soon as I saw that. So I can also remove people from the list if they shouldn't be in there. Right now I'm getting errors because it's duplicating them, and you can't have the same person listed as collector twice. That doesn't make any sense. So now that I've fixed that and corrected it and gone the wrong direction, I can say merge. I can say merge. See, I told you, it's going to be me.
Duplicate collectors.
Yeah, when I went to the other record, it got rid of, when I went all the way that way, it got rid of it. That was Grant, by the way. Yeah, see, you wouldn't let me delete it. Okay, now I can merge. You can see, because it's blue. Again, it's going to warn me, this is a big potential change. You're merging all of these records. Anything that's pointing there is going to now be pointing at this merged record. Are you sure? We give you lots of warnings before you make a mistake. We let you make your mistakes, but we warn you what's going to happen. So now, if you do the query again, you see there's only one record that's there. But the really exciting part that I wanted to show you is batch editing, which is something that we are working on. So I have to actually go to an entirely different branch for that. So in Specify, you can currently batch upload new records to existing records. So if I have a bunch of new determinations that I want to assign, I can use the workbench to just assign all of those determinations to existing collection objects. I can do the same thing for DNA sequences, bringing those in. I can do the same thing for citations, get a list of them and bring them in through the workbench. However, if I want to modify an existing record, I'm going to need to use the workbench. So how you do that is first you create your query. And your query is going to be all of the fields that either you want to edit, or that's going to help narrow down what you're editing, or you just want to see when you're doing your edit. So once you've created your query of all the fields you want, go away. Yeah, thank you. That's just my computer. That's not Specify's fault, sorry. I do my query, I get my results. I can either select among the results, or I can just hit batch edit and select everything. And all of this is going to be very controlled in permissions for who can do this and who has access to it. So not everybody will be able to batch edit. Only the people that you give permission to will be able to batch edit. And it's going to bring it into this spreadsheet-based application. If you're familiar with Specify, this is what our workbench looks like. And it's going to give you all of those same editing capabilities that our workbench has. So you can fill up, you can fill down, you can search and replace, you can come down here and edit how you're searching for things. You can also determine how things are matched, because once you've edited something and brought it in, it's still going to try to match the edited fields. So it's going to try to match the agents to existing agents. It's going to try to match the taxonomy to existing taxonomy if you've changed those. So you can change the mapping or the matching behavior by going into the mapping. And so like if you have agents, and sometimes your agents have middle initials, sometimes they don't, you can say ignore when blank. Or if you have something like your taxa and you don't want it to ignore if there's no author, you can say never ignore this. So you can control that behavior and then save. And so if I come in here now and I remove that, and I change that to a P, and I change my date. I can also copy and paste from a spreadsheet and put the data in here. Again, be very careful with this, because whenever you're copying and pasting, you want to make sure you're pasting the right stuff. So you want to make sure that it's going to match up when you do it. And I can paste right in here. And right now I can see anything that I've changed is yellow. I'm going to save. And then I'm going to validate. And the validation process is going to let me know if there's any problems with my data set. It's going to let me know what changes I've made. It's going to let me know if things are going to be new. So it's going to give me all sorts of warnings again along the way. So I can see all of these are now new. I can tell because it matches the nice little legend down here. This is a problem. If there's problems in my data set, it's not going to let me upload it. So you do need to fix all of the issues before you can upload it. It's only going to let you upload safe stuff. So I can come in here, say actually, it's 2024. It's letting me know this guy is new, so this is going to be a brand new record. I can also come over here and match to Otter Creek, save it. I can validate again, it's going to highlight that for me. It didn't highlight it because it matched it. So you see that it is matching it. It also didn't highlight this one because it didn't look at the middle initial. So it's matching the existing Edward Taylor. I can see the results to see what's going to happen. So I know this is what's going to be new. This is what's going to be added to my database. And I can check that before I bring it back in to make sure that it's matching up the way I think it should be. So if everything looks fine, I can hit my commit button. I can create a record set from this if I want to, so I can go back and look at all the results if I want to, or I can just not create a record set and just let the records be there. But now if I do my query again, I'm going to get no results because I said show me anything that doesn't have a CT scan result. If I do the same query, I can see my CT scan results. If I go in here, I can see my record that's now edited with the changes that I made. Edward Taylor's there. My CT scan is there. I can go to MorphoSource and see the record that's associated with it now. And so I'm going to leave it just at that. I'm not, I lied, totally lied. I also wanted to mention all of this is tracked in the SP audit log. So every change that is made is tracked. So you know who made it, what change they made, what was the original value, what's the new value, what table was affected, what field was affected, what's the date, what was the time. So you know everything, and that audit log cannot be changed by any users. It's only allowed to be viewed by who you say can view the audit log. And so with that, I'm going to end. So any questions? Katie has one. Katie, behind you.
Nope. Kate.
Maybe I just didn't see it on the list, but when you were doing your merge, can you select which record gets the occurrence ID or the GUID? Like how do the GUIDs get, like, I assume some of them get discarded, or do they just all now live with that specimen?
They get discarded because only one GUID goes with the record. So if GUID was in that number of fields, there wasn't a GUID for the records that I was merging. If there had been, then that would have shown up as different fields. There's different values, and you would be able to choose which field or which GUID to use for the record. Good question.
No more questions. Thank you, Teresa.
Hi, everyone. My name is Evgeny Meike, and I represent Earthscape, a collection management software company from Finland. And I will show you what we do when we work with larger institutional setups and how we deal with complexities in the implementation. So I'll walk you through kind of general, very general things to the system. Normally, when we do demos, we kind of start from 2 hours and up. So basically, this will not cover anything in detail. I'll just give you a couple of points to illustrate what happens when we interact with larger institutions. So the idea is that in each institution and in each team within the institution, there's a lot of differences. Not just collection types, there are also differences in the ways they work. They might be even working within the same sort of type of objects, but they still could be different teams doing different things. So the system can be called a custom system that we deliver, although it's a bit of a hybrid because we don't have a sort of separate code base for a customer. So it's a single code base, and all the differences, they live in the configuration layer that is essentially that lives inside the database. And the configuration affects every aspect of the application: navigation, views, validation rules, and many other things. So I've just loaded for the demonstration 3 different examples. And I will start with the navigation part. First of all, big thanks to Kew Gardens for letting me actually use their production database. A few months outdated, but it's still the, hopefully I correctly hidden the parts I shouldn't be showing. And also apologies for things being very fast for them, because they are on my computer. So they might be asking me after that, how is that possible? So the first thing that normally gets customized is a navigation tree. Basically, that is the first thing the user encounters, and that needs to be kind of reconciling all the different collections that work in the system. So here in the Q example, you can see there essentially a journey that they've taken for the past 3 years, kind of deploying separately each collection into production, starting from up to down pretty much. And they are large collections by themselves. So here, for instance, is the 2 million herbarium specimen records. And okay, sorry, just to complete the navigation sort of examples, I will show just another example from another setup where they took a completely different approach to the navigation tree. They also relabeled a lot of things. They called projects expeditions because what they mostly work with, and so on. So just to give you an idea that the navigation setup can be very different. So there's another one which is actually aiming more at the field work, and this one is used basically on tablets in the field to collect data. And it's targeting students with very limited instructions how to do things. So it's very simple down to just what they need to have in the field. So just main functionality of the system is, of course, the kind of the general data storage that pertaining to the collections, but then there's a lot of tools around it. Of course, there's things related to taxonomy, geography, all the general organizational sort of related things, dealing with settings for each collections with a list of people, organizations, and so on. And each of the basically, for all of the views in the system, we actually go through with a customer with the process of configuration of all of them. There's some default, of course, setups, but generally it never happens that the default is used almost for anything. It's always different requirements. So taxonomy is again pretty typical as you see in the other systems. You can have different lists, hierarchies, and you can configure some shortcuts in the navigation that brings you to the points inside taxonomy that are relevant to you. Geography, again, there are several things. Just keep in mind that this one is specifically kind of Kew Gardens configuration that they've decided how to label things and what they access. Logistics, so big kind of logistics module with all the handling of moving things around, in and out, recording all the transactions, and so on. Tasks, starting from general tasks, which can be used as just sort of to-do lists, down to very specialized ones for specific collection types. And just an example, again, in this case, the seed bank, they've configured the navigation tree to have fast access to certain seed bank related things. And the same for living collection, which is actually under construction, is just a mock-up of what things are going to happen this year. So this is a development version. And but again, the idea is that you configure things that, again, the users think that are relevant to them. Just to finish with a general list of things, there's a lot of kind of administrative things, all kinds of different lists. We sort of took a hybrid approach to lists or terms or vocabularies, call it whichever way. There are different things like enumerations, which are fixed in a system that cannot be changed by the user. And those are normally, we do them mostly in a case when we think that there will be some functionality tied or hard-coded in the system, which will be dependent on those enumerations. But then there are user configurable list of terms, which are used then in drop-down lists that are user configurable. So speaking of configuration, for the database, so you can extend the system at the field level. So we took approach of fixing the design at the table level, so users are not able to add new entities. And if there's really a need, we can decide to add it into the core itself. But users are able to create custom fields, which are not sort of attribute style things. There are real database fields that you create in the configuration, and then they automatically reflect in your UI in the forms and list views. Then there are a whole bunch of specialized tools and settings. There are things like report designers. Okay, maybe it's easier to find like this. So again, in this example, Q staff have configured some number of reports, which are anything from labels to loan agreements, acknowledgement letters, and so on. And the report designer is part of the system. So if we have a quick reporting exercise, switch back to Herbarium. Let's do some labels. So each report design is basically tied to a data type, and then they're reflected in a drop-down for the relevant ones. So then you get your designed report generated, and you can export it to external documents, or you can actually store it in a system as a file attachment as well. And the designs basically are made again within the system using the report designer. Just quickly look at one, which is completely visual, where you design things and then you connect them to actual data fields. There's a lot of flexibility in the report design because those people who are responsible for creating them can agree that it's sometimes hair-raising what the staff actually want the label to look like. So there's a lot of tools here, including scripting and so on, so actually you're able to deliver that piece of paper that looks exactly how they want it to look. Speaking of other tools, we can quickly look at the geography. I can potentially demonstrate it here better. So there's a GIS system built in, which is not linked to any external system. It's not an ArcGIS plugin or anything. It's fully self-contained, and it is for instance, in this case, it's configured to survey certain areas in a field, which look like this for this particular survey. And you can, it's basically fully featured GIS in a sense that it supports any raster vector layers to be loaded, and you can interact then with data from the database that has the geospatial component, like polygons, geometries, and so on. And then it's overlaid on the layers that you load externally, and you can jump back and forth from the database to the map. Some of you probably can recognize this set of shapefiles. Again, it's a test. I'll switch back to the living collection. I have 1 minute left, I think. So yeah, just to show some sort of map interaction where you have the actual map, and then what's missing is here is actually to show the plants themselves, but you have the plots in the garden that are drawn kind of dynamically on your set of layers. And the GIS itself has a lot of kind of typical GIS tools to configure all kinds of labels, classifications, and so on. So that would be familiar to people working with GIS. And just to finish, all these configuration differences, they are stored in application settings, which is just an XML file that is stored here in these records, and they can be application specific. So we also have a web client that I'm not demonstrating right now, and mobile client is also in the works, and they will be dependent on those configurations as well. So you can have you can use the built-in tool to do all your changes. Again, you can see that, for instance, there are different views configured for each of the collection type, and then you can go into the details of the view. And what would be a good example in the last 10 seconds? And you can visually move things around, reconfigure, and those configurations saved in the database and affects everyone without kind of redeployment of the software. Thank you.
I think we have time for 1 or 2 questions if anyone has any.
Hi, there's a lot of really cool stuff in there, so thank you for your demo. I was wondering more about how the report system works. Like, can you talk a little bit more about the technologies involved in that?
Well, the report designer, well, of course, first of all, we didn't code all the JS functionality. We didn't code the report designer. It's basically comes with a part of the framework that's being used. So yeah, it's one of the sort of .NET frameworks that's used for development. And it's basically, you know, the building blocks that sort of you reuse. So yeah, if you're interested in specifically which ones, we can talk those details.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, if there are no more questions, thank you.
Thank you.
This is the last one for this session, so we are on time, but if you had one, okay, yeah. So thank you for attending this first session. We're now breaking for the coffee and tea break. We will have a second session in about 30 minutes when that break is over, so please join us again for that. And for any presenters, if you're here for the second session, if you'd like to go ahead and test your laptop out for video, we'd appreciate it. So thank you for all the presenters, and hope to see you in a few minutes.